Hello everyone, hope you had a lovely week. Hope you're doing lovely. So, Emma here once again. This week we're going to go through the book of Haggai. It's a book, one of the last books of the Old Testament, and it's a short book with only 2 chapters. It simply talks about that period when the people of God had come out of exile. They had spent a few years out of exile, but they had not renovated or even built a new temple. So this was God speaking to them through the prophet Haggai, telling them to take care of his temple the way they take care of themselves. So, what are the few pointers that I have seen as I read through this book? We see in chapter 1, verse 5 and 6, that whatever you do, as long as you are not doing for God, whatever you're doing is not going to be enough. Like, even if you drink as much water, you're still going to be thirsty. You're not going to get satisfied because you need to first seek contentment of God. And you also have to first take care of also God. As you take care of yourself, take care of God. Then He'll give you that satisfaction. It says in verse 6, chapter 1, verse 6, you have sown much, and yet you bring in little. You eat, but you never have enough. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe yourselves, but yet you're not warm. And he that earns wages to put it into a big bag of holes. That means, like, whatever you're doing, you are not being satisfied. You're not being content with it because there is a gap, and that's that gap. You also need to also please God. You also need to live for God. That's what these verses are telling us. So nothing is enough as long as it's not within God. We also see that God is always with you when you start doing His work, when you start taking care of Him. We're going to look at the temple, current temple. We're going to look at it as churches, as the work of God, and also as your spiritual self. Are you feeding your spiritual self? Are you reading the Bible? Are you praising God? Are you worshiping God? Are you fellowshipping? That's what we're going to see this temple as. So God is always with you when you start taking care of Him, of His things, of His temple, of His church. In chapter 1, verse 13, it simply tells us that when you start living for God, everything, like He's going to protect you. Chapter 1, verse 13, then He spoke to Haggai to tell the people, I am with you, says the Lord. In verse 14, it says that the high priest and the spirit of the people that come to work in the house of the Lord of the hosts, they are God. That means that when you work for God, when you do things that align to God's will for you, that align to His goodness, He's going to be with you. He's going to protect you. He's going to fill you up. That's what I get from these 2 verses. Then in chapter 2, verse 4 and 5, it's simply telling us that when you're doing God's work, don't be afraid, because even in the current life we are living, sometimes people be ashamed because when you're serving God, you seem weak, you're not cool, you're just there, you're not up to the current standards of life because you're fake, all those things. Well, please don't give up. These 2 verses are telling us not to give up, not to be timid, not to hold back, because guess what? God is breathing within you. Let me read what the exact verses are saying. Chapter 2, verse 4 and 6 and 5. It says, yet now be strong, be strong, says the Lord, and be strong, O Joshua, the high priest, and be strong, all you people of the land, says the Lord, and work, for I am with you, says the Lord of hosts, according to the word that I am converted with you when you came out of Egypt. So my spirit remains among you. Fear you not. That means as long as I am serving God, I am not afraid, because His spirit remains with me. As long as I am serving Him, He is with me. So anything that is trying to strike me down, I am not afraid. I have a spirit that comes from God, that is protecting me, that is with me, that is giving me strength. Okay, the last one is in chapter 2, verse 9. It tells us that God promises us peace and prosperity. That's when we prioritize Him. So, chapter 2, verse 9, it reads, "The glory of this latter house shall be greater than that of the former, says the Lord of hosts. And in this place will I give peace, says the Lord." When you take care of the spiritual, of your spirit, when you take care of your spiritual being, when you pray, when you fellowship for God, when you worship God, when you give for God, when you worship God, when you take care of the Christian in you, and you don't hide that spirit, that part of your life, God is going to give you that unmeasurable peace, the peace that other people will look at you and they don't understand where you're getting this peace from, but it comes from God. So we live a peaceful world, and some people don't understand, like, with everything happening in your life, how can you be at peace? Well, I am at peace and I am content because of the God that I serve. In chapter 2, still verse 19, it shows us how God promises us everything good. It says, "Is the seed yet in the barn? Yeah, as yet the vine and the fig tree and the olive oil have not brought forth, but from this day I will bless you." Remember, these guys had now started constructing the temple. So now this is you now taking care of your spirit. This is you doing things that please God. This is you fellowshipping. This is you giving for God. This is you praying. This is you fasting. This is you worshiping. This is you spreading the word. This is you living your life according to the will of God. God is promising you that He is going to bless you from that time. Like, your past is now in the past. He does not even remember it. He's going to bless you, your future and your present are full of blessings because you have chosen to serve the Lord. That's all that I have for this week. Hope you have a blessed and lovely week ahead and blessed days as we serve God, as we love God, as we live for God. Thank you. Bye bye.